Financial literacy means that you are also learning how money works and your relationship with it. Because a lot of adults grow up not understanding how money works, and then they get into financial issues, which could have been easily solved if they were trained, in that respect. So financial literacy is basically learning about how money works and how your relationship with money can be developed positively. If you disrespect money, money won't like to stay around you. You need to learn how to behave, how to handle, and it starts with a healthy respect.
Welcome to Voices in Learning. Let's explore what learning really sounds like. Mr. Adeposi is here to talk to us about financial literacy.
For over a decade, Adeposi has dedicated himself to empowering Africans to unlock wealth and purpose through a unique blend of business acumen, leadership training, and architectural innovation. As the founder of the Person Wealth Academy and No Limits Markets, he provides the strategic tools necessary for individuals and organizations to transcend survival and build sustainable systems for continental prosperity.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. So we need you to explain or let the audience know what financial literacy is all about, especially in young adults.
All right. Thank you very much. So we understand what literacy is generally when it comes to civil life, where you go to school, learn to read and write. What is missing in our educational system is that people are not taught about finance. So we're just adding money matters to the literacy. So while you are learning how to read English, do your arithmetic, financial literacy means that you are also learning how money works and your relationship with it. Because a lot of adults grow up not understanding how money works, and then they get into financial issues, which could have been easily solved if they were trained, in that respect. So financial literacy is basically learning about how money works and how your relationship with money can be developed positively.
Okay, so what are the common mistakes you think people make when it has to do with finances, with money?
Yeah. So there are 1,001 common mistakes, but I think I would say, if I would say the first common mistake I've seen is that people just disrespect money. And, if you disrespect money, money won't like to stay around you. You need to learn how to behave, how to handle. And it starts with a healthy respect. A lot of people, if you see 10 naira, for example, I give you 10 naira, you will despise it. If I give you 15 naira, you despise it. But if I give you maybe 50,000 naira, you start, taking notes of it and respecting it. So people need to have a healthy respect for money, because money can help you achieve a lot in terms of your life goals and ambitions, but money can also deal with you. If money runs away from you, if you lack access to money, your life will be miserable. The Bible says money has read all things, so there's a place for it. So one of the common mistakes is just that disrespect for money. It's something you really need to understand, and you need to learn how to manage so that it can become a tool. Right? Just like fire, they say money is a good servant but a bad master. Yeah. So I would say one of the common mistakes is just having a general disrespect for money. People only think about it when, okay, I need to buy something, so I need money to buy that. So you are using money more like an abusive relationship. Okay, and then you can see how social vices can come out of that, because if I need money to buy a car, then okay, how can I quickly get that money? Can I swindle someone? Can I steal? Those things are offshoots of a disrespect for money. But if you have a healthy understanding of it, then you can see how you can build financial relationship, a good financial relationship with money, even with yourself and general society. You can see how value can convert to money, to access to capital, and then how you can use that to achieve your goals. So I'll say the first is people just disrespecting. I think that's probably the most common.
So we should respect money.
You have to respect it. It can make or mar you.
Okay, so if I want to start my journey on financial literacy, so what are the practical steps you think I should follow?
Okay, so I would say, let me just go from my own experience. I would say I'm a bit privileged to have started my financial journey at a young age. So I'm saying like early teens. And how I stumbled on this journey was, even though I knew I was going to study, I wanted to study architecture, but there was a library in my house, my dad's library, that had some books on savings, on finance, and I started reading those books. So one of the books I read was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's like a cornerstone, foundational book. It's not telling you how to make money, right? But it's telling you how money works, how finance works. So I would say a practical step you can take if you want to learn about money, not necessarily how to make money, but to learn how money works, is to go and read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yes, however, no matter how old you are, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Okay.
Yes. Once my children get to the age, my kids are still young. Once they get to like they're 9, 10, 11, I'm going to introduce them to that, because it shaped my worldview. It told me the things I needed to learn to build on top of that knowledge. But I'd say that's the foundational entry. Don't try to become an expert in finance. It's not needed. Literacy and expertise are different things. So we don't need to all become financial experts, right, to make it in life or to make it financially. But you need to become literate. Literate means you can understand the language of money, like the way you understand numbers when you go to the market. Okay, 15 naira, 100 naira. Understand how savings, how debt works, how capital works, how value works, how other people's money works. You understand the banking system. So those are the things, and that book is a good foundation.
So that book is my number one practical step. So you're telling me my number 2, I need 3 steps. So I know I'm not Rich Dad Poor Dad. I should get the book. Then what do you think is the next thing?
So in terms of practice, so I want to learn financial literacy. One, I would say, is read. So basically, read is the first. And I'll give you a book to read. Okay, start as a good foundation. The second is you need to take responsibility, because it's not something you are going to be taught. You're not, okay, maybe you now, by virtue of this podcast and your platform, are introducing it to people. But these subjects has largely been out of educational curriculums. So you have to take personal responsibility, for your education. So I say number 1, read. Number 2, find people that understand money and surround yourself with them. If it's an uncle, right, that you see that this man is successful, he understands, he's not like flamboyant and all that, but he understands money, I can learn from him. Get mentors. So number 1 is read. Number 2 is get mentors. And I'll just put that in the relationships. All right. There are some friends that, if I keep working with this guy, I will never be rich. We will spend the money on which means every weekend I will start again. And even in my adult life, when I was working in corporate, I have friends like that. It's just normal. We get the money at the end of the month.
We blow it,
and then we will get another one next month.
We blow it again.
So you see, so if you read about financial literacy, you would understand what is wrong with that mindset. You understand? So I would say, say read and then surround yourself with the right people.
Okay, so how can families, especially young adults and parents, build healthier savings and spending habits that supports long-term financial stability?
Okay, so for families, right?
Families, young adults, especially young adults and parents, because our target is basically young adults. Because we find out that, someone like me, if I think back and see the way I've spent in the past, I would have thought about it that if I had a good understanding of money, I would have been in a better place now, in terms of people talking to me about buying stock, people talking to me about buying big properties, even if it's in a far, it's in a far location.
Location.
Yes, at the end of the day, it's something, because our parents will tell us that, those days Ikeja used to be as in it's not where it's meant it is at the moment. So if they had bought property in Ikeja now, they would probably be maybe billionaire or something. So making that kind of, my parents made that mistake. I have also made that mistake, but I don't want my kids to make the same mistake. So how do we help families? How do you help me train my young adults? How do you help other families train their young adults on financial literacy?
Okay, so let's start with young adults, because at that point you're already thinking about your future, thinking about what kind of life you want to live. I'm going to assume that whoever I'm speaking with has taken financial literacy seriously, and I said as a personal responsibility. Okay. One of the things that I saw in my own life growing up is that when I eventually understood how money worked, I began to make decisions. I already knew that for me, for my goals, I wasn't going to stay in paid employment for a long time. I already knew that growing up, even before I finished school. All right. So I would say, number one, you need to understand what kind of life you want to live. The biggest motivation for discipline, for habit formation, is having a clear goal. If you have a clear goal, so I grew up, my parents are entrepreneurs. I never woke up seeing my dad go to work, like wake up in the morning and come back late. I only saw him handle projects, and it would take him 3 months, 6 months to do a project, right? And so I didn't grow up with that mindset of paycheck. But even when I came to understand it, I was like, okay, do I want to live this kind of life where I'm always waiting for the end of the month, all right, before I can make any financial decision? Or do I want to be able to say, I want to be in UK for the next 2 months for this project, and I don't need to take permission? So that's a personal decision. But once I made that decision, it's now streamlined, the direction I was going. I started going, looking for courses, looking for books, trying to understand what investing means, business. Okay, what kind of business do I need to start? Because there are different kinds of business models. So the first step that you need to take is go and take a book, write it down. What kind of life do you want to live? And it's not like it's wrong if you actually get a job, all right? The issue with people with financial literacy is that they get a job, but they don't understand how to use that money to better their lives. So if you want a life that is free of financial stress, okay, you have to make that decision now, so that when money comes to your hand, you know exactly what to do with. Okay, this portion needs to be saved, this portion needs to be invested. But you cannot start talking about budgeting and investing if you don't have a clear goal. So I would say to anyone listening, whether you're a young adult, whether you're a parent, what kind of life do you want to live in the next 10 years? What kind of life do you want your kids to live in the next 10, 15 years? What kind of school do you want them to go to? All right, what kind of options do you want them to have? It is based on those decisions that you can now come back to today and say, okay, if I want them to be here in 15 years time, I need to go this direction. So that's the assignment. Once you do that, it will be very clear the next step you need to take. Okay, I need to invest in stocks now. Let me buy land and keep for this child. Let me go to an education trust fund. All those things become very easy once you know where you're going.
Okay. For someone who has never created a budget before, what is the very first step they should take? And why is that step so important?
I like this one. So, the first step you need to take, I would say, you need to track your spending, first of all. You need to track your spending. If you don't know how much you spend, you cannot control it. You cannot measure. You cannot know if you are spending too much or less. So what I do when I work with clients, I tell them, I have a whole extensive Excel spreadsheet that I make them do, so that they just have from that discipline. But there are apps you can use to do this. Just track how much you spend on food, how much you spend on games, how much you spend on music, on your personal care, health care. Any amount, you can do it for a month. Anytime you took bus from Yaba to Ikeja, you spend 500 naira, write it down or log it in that app. All right. If you do this for a month, you have an idea of how much you spend on transportation. If you do it next month, if you do it for 3 months, right, and you will see an average, you will see a pattern. From there, you can now look at it and say, okay, if I'm spending 70% of my income on food, maybe I'm eating out too much. Can I cut this to 40%? You understand? So the very first, and this is the most critical step, if you do not know how to track your income, you cannot plan around it. And budgeting is basically your expense. Budgeting is planning your expense. But before you can plan it, you must learn to track it. So if you want to use an app, or use a book, or use an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you want to do, the first step is to track. And you must be disciplined in doing that before you can start budgeting.
Yeah, I remember when I started my business, whenever I don't have money in my personal account, I just go to my business account, I take money. So at the end of the month, I'm not paying myself salary, as in, what's going on? Is money not, I'm not just working and people my staff are the ones enjoying the money. So one day I decided so I took my calculator that, okay, I want to see all the money that left this account from the last time I paid salary till the time I'm going to pay salaries. And I found out, so I spent this much money, as in it's even more than how much I thought I was going to pay myself as salary. So at the end of it, I realized that if you don't, so now I don't even want to go near the company account. Like, I'm not seeing you. I'm saying my own personal. What is in my personal account is what I will manage. So I realized that I was able to cut a lot of unnecessary spending. Yeah. So if I'm coming from pick up, like I pick my son from school and we stop by at Pick and Pay all the time to get puff puff. Now I'm like, okay, we do Pick and Pay only on Fridays. So doing that on Friday, and when I go to Pick and Pay, how much can I possibly spend? 3,500, 4,000. So that 3,000, 4,000 in 5 days, that's at the end of the month. Yeah, it's a lot of yeah. So I think that app it will make sense. Do you have any app you want to recommend? Well, your own app that you're building, I have to wait for.
Let's remember it. That's something I hope to work on, because I've not quite seen an app that does it the way I want it done. Okay. So it's something I'm planning for the near future.
We'll let you know.
But there's an app called Money Manager. Okay. It's a free app. It's available on Android, on iOS. Money Manager is good. It's free, and it can just help you log your. There's one done by a Nigerian company called Rich App or Rich Finance. That's the name of the company. But I think the app is called Find Rich or something. So just Rich App or Find Rich or Rich Finance. And what those ones do is that they track all the SMS debits. Every time you spend, either it's a transfer or it's a withdrawal from ATM or it's a 10 payment. Once the debit shows on your phone, that app will pick it and then log it. It will categorize it if it can. If it sees petrol or filling in the beneficiary, it will categorize. So you can go into the app and now start moving.
Wow, that's nice.
So I love that app. If you're on Android, they don't have iOS for that app. I'm pressing them, but they are not ready to do iOS. But if you're on Android, that app is very nice. Rich, yeah. REACH. So Rich Finance is the name of the company, I think. So that's all. But Money Manager is good. It's a bit more manual. So you have to go there.
Everybody wants to do manual now. Everybody is on.
Yeah. So I would like an app that makes it very seamless, because that's the challenge. People want to do it, but it's
who has the time to be entering? I bought pepper 50 naira. But if there's something that can capture it, the best thing you can do is to have a spending account. Okay, and I say because so many Nigerians have more than one banks.
Of course.
So if I say this bank is my savings, this bank is my spending.
Yeah.
So I put 500k for instance in my spending account. Because you don't know, some might even dash you money, goes into the 500k, maybe more money enters. Yeah. You don't know, you're just spending and spending and spending. So at the end of the month, if there's an app that can pick everything and show you that, you spent more than your savings.
That's exactly what they do.
Oh, that's
so in the same app. So that's why I say it starts with tracking, and the app can see, oh, this is what you spend this month, and the next month if it goes beyond, it will alert you that, oh, check this out. And in the same app you can now budget and set thresholds. So after 3 months, you can see that, okay, usually it's about 100k I spend on transportation. Every month that you now spend 150k, it will mark it, to flag it. While, maybe at the middle of the month you're already at 80,000. It's gone, because that shows already that, okay, what's going on?
as in manage yourself.
Let's,
And people differ. Some people might not even need app. My sister, I think she basically doesn't need app because you can't call my sister for emergency and tell her you're broke. She'll tell you to wait for her next paycheck, because this paycheck, she knows what she's doing with the money. It's only if someone is dying, and if that person is dying, she has to be sure that person is dying. Like, really, you have to know. She has to be sure that this is going on, so she knows that, okay, when this comes in, this is amount I am spending, this is the amount I'm giving her. Oh, someone asked me for money 2 months ago, I can now figure it here. Like Christmas time now, she's been talking about how much she's spending for Christmas. So anyone that comes a day before Christmas can't get anything from her, because she already has
the plan.
Yes. So I think planning and using of this app is a big, as in, it's something we need to use to help with our budget. Okay, when building a simple personal budget, how can individuals decide how much to allocate to savings, bills, lifestyle and emergencies, especially when their income is not consistent?
So that question is a bit multifaceted. I will answer it and view. There are like 3 stages there.
Okay.
So there are some ideals, right? There are some ideals. Even if you go to like let's say by United Nations, and there are some ideals that we strive towards. And one of the ideals is in terms of allocation, 50-20, 50-20-20-10. So 50% on your needs, 20% on your wants. Your needs is your basic necessities, life, transportation, power, this thing. So wants, maybe I want to buy a new clothes, I want to change my shoe. It's not critical, right? It's 20%. Then you put another 20% on debt or savings. So if you need to pay debt or you need to save, within that 20% you manage, and the last 10% can be for emergency funds. So what I wanted to build up on is, number one, make sure you are building an emergency fund, even if you are not saving. So savings is not emergency fund. Yes, savings is not emergency funds. Make sure, I have personal experience, that's why I'm I'm hammering on this, because no matter what you are building, if an emergency catches you and you need to sort out a need, and that's a health need or it's a family need, whatever, you will collapse all the things you are doing.
All the savings,
You understand? Whether it's an investment, whether it's a savings, whether it's a business you're starting, whether it's someone's money that is in your hand, if you're under pressure and you haven't set aside money for that, you will compromise what you're building. So emergency fund is very important. I forgot the other part you were asking.
How can individual decide how much to allocate to
allocation? Okay.
Bills, I
wanted to emphasize the emergency funds. So, and I talked about the allocations. So some people do 50, 20, 20, 10. Some people do 70. So they say 70%.
For what?
70% on living expense.
Oh, okay. From your salary,
the first one broke,
you take 70%.
The first one broke to 50 on needs, 20 on wants. So that's already 70. And then he said 20 for savings and debt. But this one just gave you like 70% is what you can spend. Whether it's needs, whether it's wants, figure it out. So that's a bit more lenient. And there is the last is 20% on savings and debt, and 10% where you can allocate to the emergency fund.
Thanks, people that like to pay tithes.
No, this is general. so this is general. So for me, as I said, it's several layers. Whether you pay tithe or not, whether you're a Christian, because I don't know the audience, whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or whatever, what cuts across everybody is make sure you have an emergency fund. Okay, for Christians, therefore for me, for example, my tithe is non-negotiable. So that's already in my budget. But I can't teach that to the general client. Yes.
Yeah.
So what I would like to say on this allocation is, number one, it's more important for you to be consistent in growing your financial literacy and having a goal, you know what I said earlier, than trying to fit into an allocation formula. Because I tried that earlier and I saw that I struggled, because at different phases of my life, my allocation needed to change. There are some points of my life, especially before I got married, I was saving like 30% of my income. There were some times I was saving 50% of my income. Saving because I had a particular goal, a project I wanted to do. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you cannot just work with an allocation, you know, as a blank formula. It should actually be tailored to your goals. So if I'm going to save more in this season, then you cannot be saving 10%. Maybe you have a windfall, you get a promotion, and your needs have not changed. So you don't need to just go to a new house because now your 50% is more. You understand? So in that instance, your needs may drop to 30%, and your savings may go up to 40%, and then you manage the rest. So we need to be more mindful about where we are headed. What do you want to achieve? You know, but just understand that I need to track my income, and I need to cut out waste as much as possible. When you can see it, it's easier to manage than if you can't see it written down or broken down.
So I just want to ask a question outside what we've been talking about. So in terms of people saving salaries and all of that, what do you think? Okay, your salary is not consistent. Okay, let me say,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, there was a major increase in salary or growth at work, in your place of work. So there's something people say about buying cars. Yes, about buying a car, for instance. So I used to be a supervisor. Now I've moved to the role of a manager. On a good day, my lifestyle shouldn't really change immediately because of the increase in salary. Because if my lifestyle, you know, they will say people, the more the salary, the more the bills. That's because most people, immediately they get an increase, their lifestyle goes up. Yes. But in a situation where you used to be a low level staff, now you've gotten to your mid-level or high. And there's some things that should come with it in terms of, they call it packaging, because you know the way you're dressed is the way you be addressed. You understand? So in terms of, do you think buying a car is luxury? Like it shouldn't be part of goals in terms of finances? Because some people feel, you know, and you know cars can be very funny. You can wake up today and your car says I need 500k without you even planning for it. So I believe, if you have a car, you must have emergency budgets, because you know at the time you must plan for the car. So what do you think about? Do you think people that once they grow in a place of work, do you think it's something that should be planned for? Because your boss is not expecting you not to grow immediately. So far your level is gone up. They expect you to also package more in terms of your outfits and all of that. So what do you think? How do you think people should? Someone that is building a good financial thing, how do you think the person should move with a new level?
Yeah, very, very great question, and it's an important one. Number one, I mentioned earlier that you must have your goal clearly stated. We need to understand that we don't live for people's expectations. Your current self is responsible for your future experience. All right, and for most people, the financial decisions they made over the last 5 years is the exact reason why they are where they are today. Right? So that being established, if you get promoted, we're talking about if you are driving a jalopy vehicle that breaks down every day, and you get promoted and your salary increases and you can afford to change that, then by all means do that. But if you are driving a maybe Toyota, I don't let me measure car brand. If you're driving a good, decent car, your AC is working, the car is not breaking down, it's presentable, you don't need to change your car just to show off that you have more money, because that's what we see. Now, there's the status aspect of this conversation.
Okay.
Which is what you said. You are addressed the way you are dressed or the way you appear. And that is true. Not necessarily for maybe employees but for example, if you run your own business and you're chasing deals,
Sure.
if you are an employee and you are on the acquisition side where you are going to meet clients, maybe you are a relationship manager for an institution, then your car may also be part of your accessory, but it's necessary for doing your job. So there's a difference there. Something you can plan to, like, okay, maybe I can win more deals. I can see, and it's true. We should not deny that there are sometimes I go for negotiations and the person will see me off, after we're done. But the reason that I'm coming out is they want to see how I came, whether I'm going to cross the road I entered by, or whether I'm going to enter one. You understand?
If I want to give my finances to you, I should be sure my finances is safe. That you are okay. You won't put your eye in my money.
So it depends. It depends on the nature of that engagement. So that's why I said that we should not ignore that. It's important, but you should not go overboard and go and get a luxury car because you want to impress somebody. At the end of the day, you are responsible for your own life. You may not be in that position tomorrow. So let me go and take on debt because they want to get. No, you will get there someday, right? So I tell people, don't put yourself under pressure to go ahead of yourself. If you lose a gig just because of a car, somebody can, then that's it. Take it like that. You will get other ones, and someday you will be able to get that deal. But don't change your lifestyle and put pressure on your finances just to impress somebody or just to score a point. It will come back to bite you in the future.
Welcome to Voices in Learning podcast. Voices in Learning podcast is powered by Mieducation. So what are the things we do at Mieducation? So at Mieducation, we recruit teachers for school owners, for schools, for educational organizations, for families, and every other person that needs a teacher. We have an online platform where we have online classes for people abroad and people in Nigeria. We also recruit governesses called Living Teacher for parents who want education outside the classroom in their homes. We also do trainings for support staff in schools, in organizations, and also for families. So contact us today at Mieducation on our social media platforms or via WhatsApp. You can also call us on this number below. Okay. If you could give young adults who want practical habits to avoid common financial mistakes, what would it be and why? So in terms of, I want to also emphasize on this, in terms of in the uni, while you're in the uni, you're everybody's responsibility. You can also always call one uncle, one cousin, one auntie, you get all the money, So do you think there's saving in the uni? What can they possibly get with what financial what word can I use? What can they do with their finances that could make them, make them better when they grow older, from the small money young adults get in the uni or those in upper middle school, and all of that?
Okay, so when it comes to that personal finance, the discipline and the habit is actually more important than how much money you're able to save. So if you remember, like my children now, they're in primary school. Well, one is in crèche, but the ones in primary school, they have a piggy bank. So it doesn't matter how much. Sometimes they fuss about my money is not plenty. Me, I know it doesn't matter, right? You will still spend it one day, or if it gets enough, if I take it out and go and use it to buy an asset for you, they won't even understand. So what's more important is the discipline. But when you start growing, and you don't even need to get to university, from your high school, secondary school, you can begin to save. The mistake a lot of people make, and I don't want them to make this mistake, is saving for the sake of saving. So that's why I said the foundational thing is literacy, and that's why I recommended that book. If you understand the purpose of money, you know that when we say we should save, is not for the sake of saving. All right. So when we say that you should save money, you should know that it's not for the sake of saving. It's because you need to use that money to achieve a purpose. So if I'm training a young adult, I'll break down the projects that he wants to engage in. Okay, what do you want to do in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year? Okay, how much do you need? Okay, so out of this 50,000 you are getting, per week or per month, whatever, okay, how much are you going to save? But he needs to tie it to a project.
So you can work towards the project.
Yes. If you don't have the goal clearly defined, you will never keep track. You will never be consistent. You won't have the self-motivation. And if you are saving because mommy said you should save, when mommy is no longer in the picture, that habit will go out of the window. The money is still there, but the money will go to something else that you want to do. So when you develop the self-motivation, and this goes for adults too, because as an adult there's nobody on your head, saying, because we can also talk about accountability, but there's nobody behind your back saying what did you spend, why did you use 10,000 naira to make your news or whatever. There's nobody doing that. But when you have self-motivation of this is what I want to achieve, that will drive you. So I train my kids to think in terms of projects and in terms of goals. And if you know that you want to buy this thing, or you want to go for a course, or you want to learn this art, do you understand? It's easier for you to stay committed to that. So that's what I would say for those young adults.
Young adults. Okay, so what about those people that like to do what they call ajo?
Very good. Very good. Yeah, so ajo works different ways. The motivation is the important thing, and the discipline. If you do ajo, you are disciplined. Number one, there's a social aspect. Because all your friends, or whether it's friends or family or co-workers, you don't want to be the one that flops. There's that social aspect that keeps you in check. But if you are the first person to collect, right, there's more pressure to be disciplined because you can cut out, but the social relationship keeps you disciplined, just because of you don't want to embarrass yourself in the workplace or in the family. And if you are the last person to collect, that's the other extreme, you will be disciplined to collect your money. So it's a good way. It's a good way to, if you have the opportunity, by all means do it. But what's more important is, what do you want to use the money for?
It has to be tied to something.
I'm telling you.
Not that you do January to December. You now use the money to do that till December.
So yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to money, many people set goals without a clear plan. What would you say is the very first step anyone should take when trying to set financial goals the right way?
The right way. If you are setting goals at all, you are miles ahead of majority of people. Majority of people don't set goals. But if you come and say, I'm setting goals the right way, I think that falls more on your values, personal values. I can't say you're setting goals the wrong way based on what you have to stake. All right. But I think what I can add to this question, because it's subjective, is there are some frameworks for goal setting. Okay, we may know of the SMART goal set. I'm sure you probably know about it. So it should be specific. It should be so. I can look at goals in that light and say, okay, and I can give you an example if you want. Is your goal specific enough? Is it arbitrary? Is it vague? Okay, is it measurable? How would you know when you've achieved this? Maybe for financial goals, it's quite easy. I want to save 1 million naira. You will know when 1 million naira is there. Is it achievable? Is it realistic? Is it time bound? So that's what I can say in terms of measuring if your goal is good or not. All right. But I was saying that I was going to talk about an experience or an example. For me, one of my goals was financial independence from a very young age. I didn't say I wasn't opposed to working for someone, but I did not want to be tied to that income. Such that if someone comes and threatens me that if you don't, I will not pay your salary for maybe keeping to my beliefs and my values, I can walk away and nothing will happen. So I wanted to be able to work because I love the work and I like working with you. Until today, that's how I operate. So I don't do projects that I don't like. I don't work with clients I don't like. I work out on clients. If you're asking me to compromise, say, oh, no, this is how. And if I tell you this how much I want to charge, and I said, no, I'm not doing this for money. I'm okay. All right. So, but when I was about to when I was a bachelor, I had a goal for my financial independence. And what I mean by that is, financial independence is not having to work because you need to. All right. Having options. Having enough income coming in such that all your necessary bills, the living needs, right, are covered. And so at that goal, I had a number, because there's a framework I go through to know how much I need to have invested, such that the proceeds from that money is enough to cover my bills, for the year. So I had that number, and I'll keep it private for now. Before I got married, but immediately I got married, that number changed because we are now 2. And the second was 10 more than me. So that number changed automatically. But guess what? Immediately my wife got pregnant, that number changed. Immediately the second child came, that number changed. Immediately the third child came, that number changed. And as they're going through school, that number is constantly changing. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to have a goal. It just means I have to constantly review my goals. So I'm trying to get people that financial literacy and financial freedom is not one strict one size fits all approach. You need to start from, what life do I want to have? What do I want to achieve? And then you can now start making decisions on the type of investments you do. There's some investments you know that this one is for 20 years. But if your goal is 5 years, don't follow the bandwagon and put your money. Let the way people jump into stocks, and which stocks is going up now, or Bitcoin, or crypto. That's not the conversation we should be having. Are we going to the same place? You understand?
Sure.
If you are planning for 20 years, there are some investments you should not be thinking about. And if you are planning for 6 months or 12 months, there are some investments you shouldn't even consider. Don't even consider buying stocks or crypto if it's 12 months that you are thinking of doing this stuff. So that personal responsibility and clarifying your goal, making it clear, as you said, it will save a lot of people headache.
Reviewing of goals, when you mentioned now clicked, because there was someone that had a conversation with me about the family. They had a set goal that after this particular number of years, they're not going to be in a rented apartment anymore. They have to move to their own house. So they set the goal and they were working towards the goal. And it happened to be that the wife had 2 kids already, and they had the kids abroad. So the wife got pregnant along the line, and they still have the opportunity to go and have that baby abroad, but knowing the exchange rate at the moment, they know it's going to eat into. So that means they have to review their goals. So if they're planning to stay 6 years in a rented apartment, knowing that they're going to dip their hands into their savings, it will take them maybe another 4 years or 5 years to get there. So when I was having a conversation, so they felt they failed on their goals. So while you talked about reviewing of goals, so it now makes sense to me that sometimes, because that is also another form of investment, as in, because they know that at least to an extent they've been able to help the child, as in to their own understanding. Because so many people will say when they have kids abroad, they've invested in that child to an extent. So to them, we can't have this one here, we've had the other ones. They're trying to justify. They're trying to make themselves happy that we've not failed. So when I had that conversation with them, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't help you here. But now they're talking about reviewing of goals. So sometimes you don't meet that goal, you review it, but it's for a good cause, right?
And I would add, the essence of setting goals is not necessarily to meet them. And it's because of the way we've been trained, because of the way we've been educated, such that you must achieve something and other people must now recommend you, or reward you for achieving that. The main benefit of setting goals is actually the personal discipline to go through. Because your goal, you may not achieve the goal. The conditions that were present when you made that goal may change in the next 3 months. And it will be stupid to keep chasing a goal that you set when the conditions were different. So if you had a goal and just arbitrarily dollar rate is 1,500, and you said I'm going to save $5,000, so that the dollar rate now goes to 2,500, and what you want to use the $5,000 for has already jumped to $10,000. So will you still maintain and need to say five? No. So the essence of the goal is not the achieving of that goal itself.
But you have a destination.
Yes, it's the purpose for it, and also the personal discipline, that you will now just to keep you sane, right? And again, that's this when we are reviewing our lives, our progress financially. We also need to take this into cognizance. I, as a person, if I was a bachelor now, my financial layout to be very, very different. Do you understand? With the number of ways I've been active in. But I cannot say, okay, because I now have 4 people depending on me directly, I have failed. No, that's not the yardstick. Am I happy? Am I contributing positively? Am I being responsible to my family? Those are the real ideals, and that's what financial freedom and money should actually help you to achieve. It's your life purpose, it's happiness, it's satisfaction. Not, am I in a bigger house? Have I changed my kind in the last 2 years? Those are right. There's no basis for that.
So let me quickly run through this. When it comes to money, many people set goals without a clear plan. What would you say is the first step? Okay, we've talked about that. What most people struggle with is consistency. How can someone stay committed to their financial goals? And what practical tool or habits can help them track their progress effectively? I think we've also talked about that.
Yes, but I mentioned accountability earlier, so maybe I'll just expand on that a bit. So how can one stay committed or consistent to their personal goals? So there are 2 ways we do this. One is internal motivation, and 2 is external, that's accountability. So, but the best thing, if I'm working with someone, as I said in the case of the young adults, is I want to help them to find an internal motivation, so that I don't have to always, the child, it's him or herself who will say, Daddy, I want to save myself, I want to save. But if we are motivated, all right. So, but then the external accountability needs to be added. For a young adult or a child, it's easy. The parents can provide that external accountability, but for someone who's on his own, you need to create the systems to keep yourself accountable. Because it's easy for you to say, man, I can't save this month, I'll continue next. And you have a valid reason. Yes. You will always have a valid reason not to stay consistent. Okay? So you need to find a way to create a system. And there are different ways to do that. Number 1 is your company, your relationships. If you have a friend who's doing this along with you, they are saving their money, you share your vision with them, and both of you are doing this thing together, it's easier for you to comply, right? So other things people can do is set penalties for default. Okay, so if and then you can reward yourself for compliance too. So that's another way you can keep yourself accountable. So okay, if I commit to this savings program for a year, maybe I want to save 20% per month for a year. If I finish this year, I will reward myself with a 3-day getaway, or I'm not to spend room money, but reward yourself. And you can say, if you don't do this, I will give so and so. I will, so find something that works. Even some of these apps like PiggyVest, some of these apps that help you save, they also try to introduce these things where if you set a target, there's something they call maybe safe lock, or I can't remember. You want to save, they'll ask you the dates you want to use the money and what it is for. But if you break that savings or you withdraw, there will be a penalty. Or if you go through, there will be a reward. They will give you some extra money. And you'll be telling that money that
this is it.
This is the money you will get as extra.
Yeah, one step away.
So the answer is internal, self-motivation, and then you find something external. But majority of people will do it if they just have partners, accountability. If you are a husband who wants to save, let your wife be your partner. If you are a single, get your best friend or someone, and if you are someone in maybe an executive or in professional life, you can get a coach, finance coach. So that one you will pay, so you will know if you don't achieve, I've wasted my money. And some programs will penalize you. You will pay money, they will put it as caution. There are ways to, but it goes back to accountability on the external and motivation on the internal.
Okay, so in closing, what would you like to tell the parents, the viewers, and the viewers in short about financial literacy?
All right, financial literacy is extremely rewarding. I can't quantify the fulfillment, the peace that you have when you are in control of your money. Not when you have excess, just when you are in control of your money. It doesn't have to be too much. So I want to encourage you to take financial literacy. If you have to spend money, the Bible says, I'm a Christian, the Bible says, buy the truth and spend it not. So sometimes you will have to pay to learn something, and I've paid a huge deal of money to educate myself financially. I didn't study finance in school, by the way. I'm an architect, but honestly I went back to do an MBA and all that. But I trained myself by buying books, by having courses, and by doing it myself. All right, and self-reflecting, reviewing. So I would tell parents and young adults, whoever is watching, invest in financial literacy. And I'll end with this. If there's one thing I've seen, I've been coaching on finance since 2012 formally. All right, coaching other people and helping people, business, finance. But the one thing I've seen that differentiates people that succeed. Now, succeed means you achieve your goal, whatever it is, and from those that don't, is commitment. It makes no difference if you start a program or you invest in something or you make a decision if you are not committed. And what does commitment mean? So commitment is doing the thing you said you will do long after the mood that you said it in is over. So what we find that happens a lot of times is when someone is watching this like this, you get motivated. You get inspired. I'm going to do this. I'm going to save. I'm going to learn financial literacy. But understand that you are feeling that way because you are in a certain environment, in a certain state of mind. When you switch off this video and go back to real life and you are faced with challenges, those things will test your conviction. They will test your commitment. So when the mood that you made this decision is over, that's when we will really know if you really made a decision. A decision means you cut out all other options. That's actually what the Latin word to decide means. It means to cut off, away from. So you say, okay, you know what? No matter what happens, I will save 10%. If I'm committed to it, even when I don't feel like it, even when I need to sacrifice something else, I will stay committed to this. And you realize that once you do that, there's just this sense of self-fulfillment that, you know what, I'm someone that keeps my word, even to myself. Many times we treat ourselves so badly, we would rather keep our promise to others, but we won't keep our promises to ourselves.
Sure.
And you don't know how that affects you. It actually affects your self-esteem. Because at some point somebody will tell me, you know what, I know I won't finish. I will start, but I won't finish. It's because you have a habit of breaking your promises to yourself.
Beginning with finishing.
So I want them to be committed. That's what I'll leave them with. But I just want to quickly add this. Now this is a real situation, and actually I've pondered on this, and a lot of my clients have also, raised this issue. Is that okay? I want to start saving, I want to start investing, I want to, build myself financially, but the money I'm making right now is barely enough. It's not even like it. No, I just happen to make it to the end of the month, So there's really nothing left. I'm stretching it. This is a deeper conversation, but I'll just answer simply for the sake of the podcast. So money is an exchange of value. If you're earning 200,000 and it's barely enough, but you are working, the problem is I'm working all the hours I can work. I'm working 8 to 5 or sometimes 8 to 8, and I'm getting home at 11. So there's no extra time to even do anything. If you are in that situation, you need to find a way to increase the value. Don't increase the hours you are working, because you only have 24 hours in a day. So if all the hours you are working is only able to earn you 200,000 and it's barely enough, then you don't need to increase the hours or look for another add another job. No, that will not work. What you need to do is make yourself more valuable to the organization you are working. Because if you are working and then 200k, I can bet you there are things in that same job or line or business that will pay you 300k, even in the same company. Many times there's a role. You understand what I'm saying? I'm speaking conceptually because of time. So you need to find a way to make yourself more valuable, not necessarily increase the number of hours that you are working. And you will learn this principle in Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah. So it's the principle of value. Money, income is an exchange of value. If you give more value, you will be paid more, right? And that's how I will end that.
Thank you for joining us on Voices in Learning. I would love to know what stood out for you. Connect with us, share your thoughts, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, let's keep exploring what learning sounds like. Thank you.